Now for News 4 Utah's Real Sports Live.
Tonight on Real Sports Live, Real Salt Lake rallies late to earn a point against Minnesota, but they have another busy week coming up. The Utah Royals World Cup players are back and are already making a difference. Tony Finau turns in the best finish of his career at a major, but he'll have to wait till next year to try to win one. Former BYU head coach Dave Rose stops by to talk about his return to coaching this week. And Dixie State head football coach Paul Peterson joins us to talk about exciting times in St. George. All that, plus Donovan Mitchell inspires a kid with scoliosis to walk.
I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah, you are. It's Real Sports Live, and it starts right now.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Real Sports Live. I'm Wesley Ruff. He is Dana Green, and we hope you're staying cool on these hot summer days.
I know. In fact, we are staying cool. We're just like the Fonz.
Because we're cool. Hey.
Exactamundo. It was a hot summer night at Rio Tinto Stadium last night. And Real Salt Lake, well, they saw their 5-game home winning streak come to an end. They did still earn a point to stay above the playoff line in the West, but Mike Petke knows his team can play better than this, saying he may have pushed his team just too hard this week in the heat after a lackluster first half that did not generate a lot of scoring chances against Minnesota. They got on the board first off the header on a corner kick by Darwin Quintero. This thing gave Minnesota a 1-0 lead. Quintero was pretty much unmarked off that set piece, but RSL countered in the 71st minute. Jefferson Savarino to Marcelo Silva, and the center back, looking like a striker, scores his second goal of the year. Both teams had some chances late, but it ends in a 1-1 draw. So, Wes, RSL had been so good at home, winning 5 in a row, but this was not their best match.
Yeah, these are the ones that come back and haunt you. We talk about this all the time. When you have a home match, you want to pick up 3 points, and they only got 1. And it's where they are in the standings, they need as many points as they can get, as fast as they can get them. So that's going to be disappointing. On that goal by Quintero, they RSL immediately called offsides. All their hands were up,
No.
but they didn't look because one of the
Somebody
players
was
was leaning up
Yeah.
against the post.
Right.
So it was clearly an onside play for Minnesota. But yeah, it was just I'm watching that game and like, is anything going to happen? It was just like, it was a yawning festival.
And especially since they've been so dynamic at home. In those 5 wins, they scored a total of 12 goals. They only put 3 shots on frame yesterday. They really didn't have a lot of chances. That was a great goal by Marcelo Silva, though. Only his second one of the year. But I'm not really buying the exhaustion, the heat excuse. I'm not so much an excuse, but Petke said it's his fault. And I respect that about Petke, is that he puts it on himself, does not throw his players or his team under the bus, say, hey, we were lackluster. We didn't play well. Put that on me. Maybe we didn't practice, in the right conditions. In the heat, maybe they should have not pushed them as hard.
Yeah, it was interesting because they really didn't get moving quickly until they put João Plata in with about 11 minutes to go, and then kind of speeded up a little. They took Albert Rusnak out.
Yeah, maybe we'll see more of him.
But it was surprising with Rusnak and Daimir Krylak in the lineup. That lineup has generated a lot of goals and a lot of opportunities, and it wasn't there last night for whatever reason. I didn't get the impression that Minnesota was sitting back like some teams do and forcing RSL to do different things than they want. It was just a boring, lackluster game.
And Jefferson Savarino, bright spot. He had an assist. Yeah. He had a couple of goals before. And did you see what happened?
Yeah, I did.
The cannon of confetti, the blue confetti from his wife, signaling that it's a boy. Yeah, that's a pretty good reveal party.
Yeah.
Do it while you're playing a soccer game. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
but they've been trying to find other scoring threats, and I don't think they counted on Marcelo Silva to be one of them. So if he can add a goal every once in a while, that helps. But now there's 3 games this week. You had this one. You had their first ever Leagues Cup game against Tigres on Wednesday, one of the top Mexican teams. I wonder how seriously they're going to take that game going into the Saturday game at FC Dallas.
Especially since they were talking about being tired in this one.
Right.
And now you're going to be tired just from playing, not even practicing.
This is going to be the best team they face all year. I mean, they're one of the top teams in all of North America.
You want to win trophies, put trophies in the trophy case. So yeah.
I bet they go all out on Wednesday.
I hope so.
Because that'd be fun to watch.
The Utah Royals are a complete team again. Yeah. 3 U.S. World Cup team members return to town this week.
Yeah, Becky Sauerbrunn, Kelly O'Hara, and Kristen Press are still riding high after helping the U.S. win their 2nd straight World Cup. And on Wednesday, they shared their World Cup experience with us. Since beating the Netherlands 2 weeks ago, it's been a non-stop celebration for the U.S. women's soccer team.
My favorite part was immediately following the game in the locker room, celebrating with everybody. So much fun and dancing and lots of champagne.
It's such an intense environment for such a long time. It was nice to finally exhale and actually get to celebrate and know there was no more games on the other side.
A lot has been said about this group. Were they the best team ever? Were they too arrogant, too political? Regardless, this team had really high expectations, and they came through.
It's a strength of the team. We don't really care. We don't really allow that to come into the bubble and affect us. As much as people say, like, oh, it's the World Cup, it's like your dream to play at the World Cup, it's not super fun all the time, you know, like it's a grind and it's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of expectation.
I also think it's unfair to misconstrue self-belief as arrogance.
The World Cup team also brought the equal pay issue to the forefront of the national conversation, and they're not going to stop talking about it.
I think it's hugely important for us to be able to lend our voice to it and to be maybe a representation of that fight. I think is something that we willingly take on.
Now the question, can the National Women's Soccer League capitalize on the success of the World Cup team? The Royals sure hope interest in the league continues to grow.
I think we saw already a bump in attendance even from last week's games, and the American players hadn't even showed up yet. So what I hope and what I anticipate is that attendance will be up. And hopefully we can carry that momentum throughout the rest of the season.
Kristen Press, who wasn't at Wednesday's news conference, scored a goal in the semifinals against England, and in her first game back with the Royals on Friday, scored another goal and said it felt great to be back playing for the Utah fans.
Yeah, it was an amazing feeling to be back in the stadium. You know, we had such an amazing group of Americans that traveled over, and I know some of them were from Salt Lake and they're here tonight. But there's nothing like playing in front of your own home crowd. I felt so much joy and pride playing in this stadium and for this team. I'm happy to be back.
Congratulations to them. Kristen Press, Kelly O'Hara, and Becky Sauerbrunn all played big roles in the return to Utah on Friday night. Great crowd of over 15,000 on hand to welcome back the World Cup heroes. Portland, top team in the NWSL, struck first on a goal by Canadian World Cup player Christine Sinclair, with the Royals able to level the match in the first half. Press playing in their first match since week 2. That was just a sweet move, and she scored on a nearly impossible angle there. Make it 1-1 second half. Sauerbrunn in the wrong place, wrong time, and own goal in the 87th minute made it appear so the Royals would suffer a third straight loss. But O'Hara finished. She found Irish World Cup member Rachel Corsie for the tying goal in the 90th, the sliding boot in. The Royals salvaged a 1-1 draw. Scottish, right?
That's right,
yeah.
Scotland.
Dana, no doubt the World Cup players made a difference in this match.
Oh, no question. I mean, not only in attendance, I mean, there were almost 16,000 fans there riding the wave of the momentum of the World Cup victory, but also in goals, because the Royals hadn't scored a goal in their last 2 matches. They hadn't had anybody since May 25th outside of Amy Rodriguez score a goal. So Kristen Press comes in and scores. Rachel Corsie comes in and scores. So all 6 World Cup players are back for the Royals. I think good things are to come. I know they only got the draw, but Portland's the top team in the league. I mean, they're in first place. So I don't think goals is going to be much more of a problem for the Royals from here on out with that kind of weaponry back, because Kelly O'Hara set up Corsie on the one in the 90th minute. So I think there's a lot of firepower back, and it was just cool to see all those World Cup, even on Portland, Tobin Heath, Lindsay Horan. These are people that have become household names the last few weeks. To see him playing, I hope the NWSL can capitalize. And Portland has played really, really, really well away from home. I think they've only lost 1 match away from home. So, you know, for RSL to salvage a draw, that thing, especially, you know, in the 87th minute when they're down, it was looking gloomy for them to get that last final goal to get the 1 point in the standings was big. But, you know, the Royals have been sitting near the top of the table for so long. And now they've kind of, you know, a couple of losses, a couple of ties, and they've slid down with a quickness. So. And the top 4 make the playoffs. They're only 2 points out. There's still 12 games left, so still plenty of time to make up some ground. I think we're going to see the real Royals team, that first place Royals team. But it's crazy to think that, you know, they haven't had a complete team since week 2. Right, they left after week 2.
And I thought this was interesting in some of the World Cup players from other countries weren't nearly as happy for the United States World Cup players as the fans were. Right? They're like, they're our teammates.
Right.
Love them, but we played against them. We're not really as
Desiree
ecstatic
Scott
about
from Canada was like, congratulations.
good for you, but
they're
let's
our
move on.
rivals, so I don't
Yeah.
really care. But how about we win a championship together?
I like that.
That's the goal. Well, an Irishman won the British Open, which was held in Northern Ireland. How cool is that?
Pretty cool.
For Shane Lowry, he dominated this week to win his first major championship. Lowry finished at 15 under par, winning by 6 shots over Tommy Fleetwood. In fact, Lowry had such a big lead, he became the first British Open champ since '96 to win while shooting over par in the final round. But how about Utah's own Tony Finau? He finished in 3rd place at 7 under par. That's his best career finish at a major. Finau now has 5 top 10 finishes at major championships, 2 this year. Remember, he finished 5th at the Masters. And so, Wes, how close is Tony getting to breaking through, winning that first major?
You know, I picked the start of the season last fall. I said that Tony would win this year. He's still got some time to win on the PGA Tour. I didn't know if he'd win a major. We talked about that, but I thought he would contend in majors, and he's certainly done that. He is just, I mean, he has more top 10 finishes than anybody since 2016 on the PGA Tour.
The PGA Tour.
In all the events, and then to do it in the majors, he just keeps contending. And you think that if you're there knocking on the door, eventually you're gonna break through. But his game is so well suited. It surprises me that his game is suited for the British Open, the way that the courses lay out and the way you have to play the ball and bump and run. But he hits it long enough, and he's got a very soft touch and.
Really cool seeing Shane Lowry.
And a lot, it's interesting because a lot of PGA players, they loved it. I mean, they were happy that Shane Lowry won the British Open, so good for him.
Yeah, but back to Finau, I mean, he was pretty consistent this week. 68, 70, 68, 71. Didn't blow up in any round, but he didn't collapse in any round either. And usually 7 under par would win an Open championship. It's just that Shane Lowry went 15 under. He was unconscious for
and his
most of this
71
tournament.
today in the weather conditions, one of the better rounds. I mean, he shot even par, and that was one of the better rounds of the entire 4th and final round of the British Open because the conditions were so bad with rain.
And he had one of the shots of the tournament, that chip in there yesterday.
Yeah, because you're looking at that
awesome.
thing, and that looked like it was just going to be a little bump and run that you kind of play at those kind of courses. And he hits a big flop shot and holds it out on the 18th hole.
Right, no, that was incredible. I wish we could have seen more of him. Here's that shot.
Flop shot.
I wish we could have seen more of the broad. I mean, he finished in 3rd place today. The broadcast showed, what, 2 shots of him?
That's all I saw was 2 of them. Maybe they showed more, but
that's unbelievable. And it was disappointing to see Tiger and Rory both miss the cut. But how about Preston Summerhays? We got to mention him. 16-year-old, won the Utah State Am last week, and yesterday goes to Ohio and wins the USGA Junior Amateur Championship. What a year he's having.
I don't think people realize how big this is. He becomes just the 6th Utah golfer ever to win a United States Golf Association event, and it's amazing. He's the 2nd one. Scott Hills also won the Junior Am when he beat Preston's dad, Boyd Summerhays, in one of the earlier matches that year. So yeah, this is just a big-time event. He's a clutch player. This has been the summer of Summerhays, right?
It really has.
I mean, he's the youngest player.
Grace qualifies.
And she's playing in the women's junior USGA this week.
And she qualified for match play at the Utah State Am. That hadn't been done in a while. So this kid's going to be something special because he's got the mental toughness. You can tell when it comes to match play, that's when he's at his best.
12-0 the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and he beat this kid
and most
from
of them
China.
coming from behind.
Right. And he had to hold on. It was 2-1 to beat the kid from China.
He was 3
yesterday.
down and 3 down after the first in the first 18 and came back and won the thing 2-1.
So he just got his driver's license, but man, can he drive? He can drive.
He
on the
turns
golf
17
course.
tomorrow.
Okay.
So happy birthday, Preston.
Happy birthday to him. All right, we have to take a quick break here on Real Sports Live.
Yes, but coming up, Dave Rose is back in coaching, sort of.
Sort of.
He joins us in studio to talk about the basketball tournament when we come back. Welcome back to the show, everyone. The basketball tournament is coming to the Maverick Center this week, and a pretty familiar face is coaching one of the teams.
That's right. Dave Rose, who coached BYU for 14 years, is coaching Team Fredette, as in Jimmer Fredette. I guess when Jimmer asks a favor of you, you kind of owe him, don't you, for what he's done for your career?
Yeah, they've been obviously great supporters of BYU since they've left.
Sure.
And TJ, his brother, kind of runs this Team Fredette, and Al's in the middle of it. So it's kind of the Fredette family, you know. And I'm excited to just get back in the gym with a bunch of guys that are really good players. See how we do.
But Jimmer is not playing.
Right.
And in fact, you only have one BYU player on the team.
guy. Tyler Haas will be playing for us, and I think it'll be fun for Ty to have it here in Salt Lake and have a lot of his fans and family come watch him play. But I do believe that this is really big for Al and for TJ. Because there's a big lump sum of money.
$2 million at
you
the
win
end of
6
the
games,
rainbow there.
That'd be good for
so
them.
who's going to be coaching, you or Jimmer, or co-coaching, or when it comes down to the final shot, I would assume you're making the call.
I think that Jimmer will have a lot to say, and then when it really gets tight, he'll kind of yield. Yield to me.
But you don't know these guys, right? I mean, have you worked with them yet?
And I've watched some, a lot of film, just see some of the game and what they do. Most of them are big-time scorers. We got a few rebounders, some big guys who can screen, but it'll be a quick kind of a adjustment to see how we can get the ball to the guys who can make baskets and then figure out how to guard them.
Now, there's 8 teams in this regional, and there's a lot of local flavor. There's a team primarily made up of Utah players, Utah State players. We have Tyler Haas and you guys. That's going to be kind of cool to have a little rivalry there, huh?
I mean, for the 25th of July, a hot afternoon, you can go into the Maverick Center and watch 4 games, and it'll be pretty good, competition and great talent from all over the world.
Yeah, all
really.
College players, right?
All former college players, and a lot of former pros are in this region, and it'll just be fun to get in there and just watch the refs make a bunch of bad calls.
His juices are already going. The coaching juices are going. Are you afraid this is going to maybe draw you back to the game?
No.
Your wife's never going to let that happen.
You know what this reminds me of? You guys might remember, but when Jimmer was drafted, and then they had the work stoppage.
Right.
And we had an all-star game in the Marriott Center
with Kemba,
with Kawhi Leonard.
That's right.
Steve Fisher was coaching his team, and then we coached Jimmer's team.
That's right.
And
Wasn't Kemba Walker in there as well?
Yeah, and Fareed.
That's right. Kenneth Fareed.
We had some good players, and it was a great game, and it came down to the wire. And Kawhi's team won. And I guess that was to show us in the next 10 years that Kawhi would have a better NBA career than maybe Jimmer. But it was a fun day, and that's what this kind of the same feel to this. Let's get a bunch of guys in the gym and then watch them go.
It's kind of fun to watch you get animated when you start talking about that. You've been out of coaching, what, 4 months? It's been about 4 months since you announced your retirement.
Yeah, March 26th was when we had the press conference.
How's it been? What have you been doing since then?
Well, we've traveled a lot. I think that'll be kind of I'm really looking forward to traveling this winter to watch Jimmer in Greece and watch Brandon plays for Barcelona.
Right.
Maybe we get a trip where we actually see them both play each other in the Euro League. But we've been to Hawaii for a little while. We're going back in 2 weeks. And so I think what I really want to do is times when it's really stressful, for the basketball coaches in the country, I want to be doing something really fun.
Call up your old buddy and say, what are you doing today? I'm in Hawaii.
I just watched your game sitting by the pool. What in the world are you doing?
Don't you think that Dana or probably me should go with you on that trip?
That'd be
Yeah,
good.
that'd be good.
You keep me updated.
Just to cover, see how he's doing. I wanted to ask you about Jimmer. A lot of people thought, he got his chance with the Phoenix Suns at the end of last year. You were at that Suns Jazz game. Played for the Warriors in Summer League for a couple of games. Signed with Greece. Do you think his NBA chances are over, or is he going to get another shot?
Well, I think the Euro League is a much more difficult league than the league he's been playing in China. He approached me when he talks to me about this. It's more he's just so excited for a new challenge. Right. And I think you can't really ever say that it's over. There's been a lot of guys that have played 8-10 years in the Euro League and then made some a good mark for them in the NBA. But I don't think that is like just driving him anymore. I think that he's looking for a way to make a lot of money and have fun playing the game. And then this new challenge I think it'll be really fun to watch him adjust to it and how he can perform in the EuroLeague.
And most fans look at the NBA and think if a guy can score, that he could have a job in the NBA. And Jimmer can certainly score. And so it's just a huge question of why is he not playing?
Well, when they ask, when people ask me, I just guarantee them the whole time. This has been 10 years now it's been going on. If a coach figures out that they want to play him, he'll score. Yeah. That's no question in my mind. Now, what it does to the rest of the team, what it does to the locker room, what it does, who knows? But if you play Jimmer, he'll find a way to score. And I think we'll see that in the EuroLeague. And I was listening to Fran Fraschilla talk today about the tournament, and he was asked the same question about Jimmer, and his take is kind of, the NBA is kind of all about who you can guard, and then that's where you start, and where you can guard, and then let's figure out how you can score, and maybe that's what Jimmer's still trying to figure out.
Now, you coached with Mark Pope. He was an assistant under you, and you kind of passed the torch to him. He's now taking over the BYU program. How good a hands are the Cougars in with Mark Pope?
You can tell. I mean, the first 100 days, he got the #1 recruit he needed to get. That was Yoli.
That's right.
So he got Yoli back. He's really increased the depth of the team, and he's got a great group of seniors to work with. But, the energy and the passion that Mark has, he'll infuse just a great, I just believe this group of guys is in really good hands to have a tremendous year. I've been to the tournament in 4 years. Right. We went 8 out of 9 years. And so to not go for 4 seems like, it's been a decade since we haven't been. So hopefully he can get them riled up and be consistent enough throughout the whole year that, we can get in that tournament.
You going to go to any games at the Marriott Center?
I will go to a lot of games.
You will go, all right.
And I'll go to a lot of games on the road because we're playing at Houston. That'll be a fun game for me. Yeah. Maui will be really fun.
Alma mater, right, Coach? Does he look happier than he's ever looked? More relaxed? He looks fantastic.
And your health is good?
My health is good.
That's awesome.
Good, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Taking good care of me.
Coach Rose is just one of 2 coaches we're talking to tonight. Coming up after the break, Dixie State head football coach Paul Peterson joins us. Talk about the Trailblazers' move to D1. Stick around.
You're watching ABC4 Utah's Real Sports Live.
These are exciting times at Dixie State University. Starting next year, the Trailblazers are moving to Division I.
Yes, and here to talk about that and the upcoming season is the new head football coach at Dixie State, Paul Peterson. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
This is your first year. You've only been on the job since December, right?
Since December, yeah.
How's it going for you?
A lot of work to do. Really good kids. I'm excited to coach. down there. It's awesome.
You didn't have to go far, coming from Snow College, right? Ephraim to St. George was about a 3-hour drive?
3-hour drive, just down the street, yeah.
Nice. Now, this is, you haven't really gotten familiar with this team, I would think, since you're so new. What do you know about this team? What do you expect? They're coming off a pretty good year, 7-4 last year.
They did. The previous staff did a really good job. We got some good football players. Hopefully, we added some depth in our spring recruiting. Excited for our seniors to really take that step and really guide us this year.
How much excitement is on campus about the jump to Division I? Because every sport will be in the WAC, except for football. You're playing as an independent.
As an independent, yeah. A ton of momentum going on down there. The growth is tremendous. New buildings all over the place. We're really excited about that momentum, and I'm lucky to be a part of it.
Is that one of the things that drew you to this job, is knowing that you've already signed a deal in 2022 to play BYU for the first time ever? I would assume that games maybe against Weber and Southern Utah are coming. Is that what kind of drew you to this job, is just this program on the rise?
Yeah, like I said, with the momentum that they have down there, with the potential and the growth potential, I wanted to be a part of this D1 move for sure. It was an easy sell for me. Being from Utah, to come back to Utah, I've kind of been all over the place, but to be back, really focus on recruiting here in the state of Utah and bring Dixie State into prominence when we go Division I.
You played high school football at Bingham.
Bingham High School.
And you went to Boston College.
I did, yeah.
But you know the importance of guys who are good high school athletes in the state of Utah that don't necessarily get recruited to places like Boston College. Is that the kind of athlete you're going to go for down to Dixie, try to keep them in state?
There's plenty of them too. Great football here in the state of Utah.
Sure.
Our high school coaches do a phenomenal job, and so my job is to keep them here and not let them go out and compete against SU and Weber State. They've done a good job keeping those student athletes here too. So. That's my goal, keep them here.
Now, you're a quarterback,
Correct.
right? You played he beat Notre Dame.
Yes, he did.
In 2004, right?
Correct.
Nice. And you played in the Canadian League. I assume you're an offensive-minded head coach then? Would that sum you up and leave the defense to the defensive coordinator?
Yeah, let him do his job. We're just trying to score points, and they got to stop him, so that's the goal.
And Cody Wilstead, a name that a lot of people might be familiar with, former Pineview High star, played at BYU, enrolled at BYU. He transferred. You're going to be able to get your hands on him this year. Huh?
Yeah, we got a great quarterback room. I'm going to coach the quarterbacks and call the plays, and so I'm excited about that and go super fast, up-tempo, no huddle, and score a lot of points.
Nice.
That's what people want to see these days, right? I mean, it kind of gets people in the stands.
Playing the position, and you want to score a lot of points.
And back in the day, Dixie State, when Crochet was the coach, they passed the ball, but their idea of passing was to turn around and pitch it to the running back.
I ran into him too, and I said, that sweep lost a lot of games for us at Snow College.
Now, you guys scored, I think, I was looking at your schedule, 52 points in each of the last 2 games. Are you looking to build on? I mean, how much momentum can you take, even though it's a new coaching staff, a lot of returning players, how much momentum can you build on the way you guys finished last year?
I tip my hat to the players and the previous coaching staff. Like I said, they did a really, really good job, and so I try not to mess that up and build off the momentum they have. Give the ball out to our playmakers and let them make plays, and hopefully we can have some success.
When did you decide you wanted to be a coach? Because it was early on in your career, right?
Yeah. Well, I got done playing. I wanted to get a master's degree, and so I jumped on at Brigham Young University and to get my master's. And then my head coach, Tom O'Brien, left to North Carolina State, and I was able to jump back over there on the defensive side of the ball. And it kind of just grabbed me. From there, it just trickled, and worked with Ed Lamb at Southern Utah University, and was at Sacramento State as offensive coordinator, and then able to come back to Snow College and be closer to home. So I've been all over the place, but it's a good profession. I enjoy developing young men.
You think Dixie is going to be in the same conversation as Weber State, Southern Utah? I mean, Weber State's had tremendous success under Jay Hill, and Southern Utah's had some really good years. Do you think Dixie State, once it gets established as a true FCS school, is going to be on par with those schools?
Absolutely. We're going to be competing with them facilities-wise, with scholarships. We're jumping to 63 full scholarships, and who doesn't want to live in St. George?
Sure.
Everybody's moving there. It's growing like crazy, and we got great leadership. President Williams has done a phenomenal job. Dr. Booth, our athletic director, has really seen the vision of going to Division I. I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Are you one of those guys that, you say you've been to a lot of different places, are you one of those guys that picks the brain of all the coaches and the people that you interact with and try to gain something,
you have to.
glean something?
I think that's part of the
career?
profession, I've been part of Bronco Mendenhall staff. I mentioned Tom O'Brien, Robert and those guys. Really good offensive minds, defensive minds, great head coaches. Had a chance to meet with Coach Croton, who's down there coaching his son, high school ball at Pineview. So anytime you can take advantage of that, you have to do it.
Any conversations to play Utah in the future, maybe? I mean, let's get Dixie State on all the local schedules. That would be awesome.
Absolutely, we'd love to. We would not turn down any challenge, for sure. So we've got BYU, you mentioned New Mexico State, Colorado State. Those are in the next few years. And so,
nice.
So try and get Utah on.
What about on campus? What's the excitement like? I mean, just because it is moving to Division I, I would think the students and the community is really rallying around this program.
Yeah, they're getting it. They're getting it. I think with the more prominent names that we're going to play, as far as the Big Sky teams, Weber State, SUU, I think our student body recognizes those games as rivalry games. I think they're excited to come out.
This is a bit of a homecoming, not only for you, but for your wife, Megan.
Absolutely.
Who interned in the sports department.
A long time ago. We were just talking about that.
At Channel 4 back in the day.
She's going to love that shout out.
Does she have only good things? This is before my time. Does she have good things to say about Wes?
Absolutely. She had a great time here.
Well, she should tell me what's good about him. I'm still trying to figure it out.
I'll shoot you an email.
Shoot me an email. All right. Coach, thanks for joining us. That was awesome. Good luck to Dixie State. When's the opener?
September 7th.
September 7th.
Yep.
Okay, right on. Hopefully
big game.
It's a great year for the Trailblazers. We have to step aside for just a couple of minutes.
Yes, but coming up, it's the highlights and the lowlights, the wild and the wacky. It's another exciting edition of the best and the worst. Stick around, everybody.
I'm Jay Hill, and you're watching Real Sports Live. I'm Jay Hill, and you're watching Real Sports Live. I'm Jay Hill, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
Thanks, Jay. It's been a great show so far. Let's keep it rolling. It's time for the wild and the wacky plays from the past week in sports, the bloopers and the blunders. You know it, you love it, you can't live without it. It's the best and the worst. And we start off with this pickoff play in the majors. They've got the runner in a pickle. There's no way he's going to be safe, but he ends up back at first safely. He's part body contortionist here. Bends his body out of the way and avoids the tag. He's safe, and then comes back, touches the bag, and makes sure that everyone knows he's in there safe. It was a way better slide than this one. This was the worst. Oh, the face plant, and it left him with blood on the bridge of his nose. At the Bees game, the bat goes flying. It sticks in the netting, and the fan jumps up on the top of the dugout, then jumps up and pulls the bat through, and then takes it over and returns it to the dugout. In the majors, this flying bat sailed over the top of the netting, bounced in the stands, right to a fan who stayed in his seat. He didn't seem concerned about it. In boxing, this guy takes a beating and ends up going right through the ropes. Whoa! out of the ring. Here's what it looked like from the stands. Timber! Portland keeper with a save. Oh, off her face. The ball bounces right off her grill. Ooh, ouch. Not as bad as this one, though. Luke Voigt of the Yankees takes a fastball to the face. Oh, my goodness. Coming 91 miles an hour. But he stayed in the game and actually scored a few minutes later. Tough guy. Standard bearer in golf. Pretty excited as he runs down the fairway, and then he falls down on the fairway. Caught a toe, down he goes. Henrik Stenson just dead cold shanks this thing way right. Not happy about it. Had to be the club's fault, so he makes it pay by snapping it over his knee. It'll never work for him again. Fly ball to the left, and he drops it. Another fly ball, and another drop. Maybe they should take lessons from this guy. Wow, this fan makes the barehanded catch while sitting down with his son on his lap. That takes skill. Comebacker here in the major leagues to Strasburg. Oh, the quick reflexes, makes the catch, doubles up the runner at first, got his glove up, and made the great reaction play. Clayton Kershaw thought he had the comebacker. Turns out the ball went right through his glove. His glove ripped. The ball went through the webbing, so we had to get that thing restitched. And finally, watch the guy in the far court in doubles. Gets hit in the face. Oh, that didn't feel good. Later, same match, same guy. He gets hit again in the wrong place at the wrong time. He wasn't happy about it, but it got a whole lot worse because, oh my goodness. Oh, he took a shot right in the midsection. I'm no doctor, but that's going to ruin your weekend. He was writhing in pain, but maybe one day he can look back and smile and say, hey, at least I made it onto the best and the worst.
They took a shot of Woody Harrelson
yeah,
after
right.
that.
Staring at him like, oh.
All right, we're almost out of time here on Real Sports Live, but still got a very special parting shot to share with you. That's coming up next.
Now, Parting Shots brought to you by Doug Smith Auto Group.
It's time for our parting shots, and this week we're going to do something a little different. We're devoting this segment to one special kid.
That's right. Nobody really knows what it's like to walk in Donovan Mitchell's shoes, but a 13-year-old diehard Jazz fan used Mitchell's newly released shoes to take some very important steps. Johnson was born with scoliosis. His spine had curved so much, the 13-year-old boy, who's also autistic, needed surgery.
Instead of growing up, his spine grew out to the side. And so the curvature got to the point where The doctors were concerned about his internal organs.
But Aiden kept his spirits up the entire month he was in the hospital.
The biggest thing about Aiden is his attitude. You know, he never complained the whole time we're stuck in the hospital. And he's just a real happy, positive person.
So when it came time to take his first steps after the surgery, Joseph had an idea. Get Donovan Mitchell's newly released basketball shoes.
I thought, well, it's worth a shot to get him some shoes and see if that would help him want to get out of bed and take those steps. What did you think when you saw the shoes?
They were awesome.
So there Aiden was, learning how to walk again in spite of Mitchell's shoes, and he made a declaration.
I'm Spider-Man.
Oh, you are.
He wouldn't let us take his shoes off. He wanted to sleep in his shoes. I mean, as a dad, seeing your kid take those steps, you know, it's the best thing in the world.
Mitchell saw the video and responded on Twitter saying this was the coolest thing he had ever seen, and he was going to send Aiden multiple shoes to walk around in.
It was awesome that he would take time to acknowledge that Aiden had done something good. If I had a chance to talk to him, I would just tell him how much as a father I appreciate the role model that he is. Just being genuinely kind and considerate. You know, there's multiple instances of things that he's done that just make me proud to support the team.
And if Aiden gets to meet Donovan, what would he say?
What do you want to say to Donovan?
He's awesome.
They both are, huh?
Good story.
What a great kid, Aiden Johnson. Yeah, good luck to him. Hey, download our podcast. Go to abc4.com.
And
download
we'll be
Real
back next
Sports
week
Live.
with another great show of Real Sports Live. Until then,
You ready?